If, for, and while are the three ways that you control things in a Python program. And here's a couple of quick examples. So you can say, if 1 is the same as 1, then print maths works. Okay, so if 1 is the same as 1, then print maths works. And that's the first way that we can control things in Python. The second way is with a for loop. So we can say for I in range, and then we can say for I in range 10, I'm just going to print I. There we go. Off we go. And 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because, of course, Python starts counting in 0. And then the last one is while. So we can say while true, print. Yep. And because true is always going to be true, that will just happen forever. But what is actually the difference between these three ways of controlling things in Python? Well, let's take a bit more of a look. So, first thing we might want to do in a Python program is to do something once if a condition is met. And to do this, we're going to use an if. And so a quick example of that is when I get to the car, if I've forgotten my keys, I'll groan and go back inside the house. A quick kind of Python example of this might be, if no keys is true, then go back inside. The next way to control things in Python is to do something a set number of times, just like we did up here just now. Well, that's quite far up there, isn't it? Just like we did up here just now. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we did something for a set number of times. An example of this in real life is I'll buy one ice cream for each of my children and then eat them all myself. And then in Python, that would look like this. For I in range, so this is now a list of the number of children I have, and I could use just a number, or I can also do this a certain number of times for a list. So for Bob, Bobetta, and Bobby too, I'm going to print, give me an ice cream. So I'm going to ask for an ice cream, then I'm going to eat it myself. And then the last way to control things in Python is using while. So I'm going to do something for as long as a condition is or isn't met. And so we're going to use while for that. And a quick example of that is, as long as I'm alive, I will like kebabs, which is absolutely true. So while I'm alive is true, or equals true, is the same as true. I'm going to print kebabs, yes, and then I'm going to take a year off my life because eating kebabs really isn't good for you. And then if years to live is 0, then am alive is going to become false, and then this is going to stop. So these are a couple of quick examples, but let's have a look at how things like this actually work in code. Why don't we go ahead and do this? So first of all, we'll have a look at an if statement. But to begin with, we need to kind of understand how these kind of conditions work. So we've got if no keys is true. So why should no keys be equal to true? Well, let's take a quick look down here. So I'm now down here at the bottom of this screen. And let's see what happens. So if I just type true here into my console, true, let's just type true. There we go. It tells me that, yes, that is indeed true, which is fantastic. But there are many other ways to get this value here without just typing true. So for example, if I was to say that 1 equals 1, so this sign here is a comparison operator and it just means is the same as, then that's also going to tell me true. If I were to say 1 plus 1 equals 2, then that is also going to tell me that that is true. If I were to say 10 times 8 is, I don't know, 80, then that is also going to, there we go, to make sure we get this right, then that is also going to tell me that that's true. So this comparison operator is one of the many ways that we can get this value true. And this value true, let's just take a look at what this is, because everything in Python is a type of thing. And we already know, whoops, if I can actually type here, we already know that, for example, 1 is a type of integer. We know that if we were to go type and then type in something like this, hey, and it's going to tell us that this is a string. Well, what happens if we try that on true or false? So let's try type and then true and see what that says. Well, that is a type of Boolean variable, a Boolean data type, sorry. And there is another type of Boolean data type as well. So let's see what happens if we say that 1 is equal to 2. Well, we get false. And so true and false are both these Boolean data types. And these are the types of things that can be used in an if statement, for a while loop, sorry, for a for loop and in a while loop, because if is a statement, for is a for loop, and while is a while loop. Why are these loops? Well, because they go on several times depending on how many times they happen. So what for and while are loops, and if is just a statement. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at this Boolean thing happening in a bit more of a realistic situation. So let's say is raining equals, so we're going to assign is raining true. So that means that is raining is now equal to true. So if we go ahead, print is raining, here we go, print is raining, should just print out for us true, because that's what we've assigned to is raining. The difference, by the way, between this equals here is that this is how to assign a variable. So we use this operator to assign something, whereas the as opposed to this, which is a comparison. All right, so that's the difference between those two. Anyway, and now we could say if is raining, there we go, if is raining, then we're going to print take an umbrella. We're going to print brolly time. Awesome. So let's see what happens now. So we know that is raining is true. Okay. So if is raining, so if this evaluates to true, then we're going to print brolly time. Off we go. So it's brolly time because it's raining. We know it's raining because that's what we've assigned it as. So if true, print brolly time. Now we could actually swap this out here, and we could swap this out just for the data type true. So let's do that and see if that still works. Okay, brolly time, because if true, brolly time, and basically if whatever is here is true, then it will be executed. In this case, the thing that's here is raining. So off we go, brolly time. But we could actually put anything here that evaluates for true or false. So for example, if 1 equals 1, so if 1 is the same as 1, then yeah, brolly time. We could say that if 1 is 5 minus 4, which is also going to be true because 1 is 5 minus 4. There we go, brolly time. So basically anything here that evaluates down to true will result in us going to brolly time. Now, if false, then what do you think is going to happen here? Basically, let's just get rid of this line here because that's a bit confusing. Basically, if this thing here is false, then this will not happen. So an if statement will only execute if something is true. So let's have a look. Nothing executed. We could also have a look at if 1 is the same as or is equal to 0. And that doesn't execute either. So if statements only happen if this thing here is true. And at the moment is raining, it's true. So if we put is raining here, then it's going to go and execute and get brolly time. If we were to say false here instead of true, so false, here we go. And we can see here that now it doesn't execute anymore. Now, an if statement can also have other components, but we're gonna come to those maybe in another video. You can also use elif and else, but we're going to come to that in a bit. So anyway, that's an if statement, and an if statement, like I said up here, is used to check for one thing. So it's to do something once if a condition is met. Now, let's say that you want to do something several times according to a number or according to the number of things in a list. Well, then you'd use a for loop. So you're doing something for a certain number of times. So we could say for I in range 10, just like the example over there, we're going to print I times. Not going to sound very good for the first couple. 0 times, 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 9 times. So we've done that 10 times, starting from 0 all the way to 9. And for a for loop, basically, you can either use a range thing, like number, or you could use some kind of a list. So instead of using range now, why don't we take this out, put a list in instead? So let's have Bob, Bobetta, and Bobolini as well. There we go. Oops, Bob, Bobetta, and Bobolini. And off we go. And then we can see then, so you see there that we've got Bob times, Bobetta times, Bobolini times. So for each one of the things in the list, it's done what we've asked it to do. Okay. And you'll notice here as well that this for loop is a little bit different to the one before, because instead of numbers, it's now actually printed. So where we've got I, it's printed the thing in the list. Okay. So you can have for loops which do things a certain number of times, and then I will give you access to the number, or I can also give you access to the thing in the list. Let's just have a quick comparison there. Let's go again and say for I in range 3. Okay, for I in range 3. For this loop here, we are printing numbers for I, because Python will automatically dig out the number that we're dealing with for the current iteration through the loop. Whereas for this one, Python is automatically digging out the thing in the list, and we could put anything in this list. So if we wanted to, we could put false, true, and then let's just leave Bobolini. There we go, false times, true times, Bobolini times. Okay, so that's a for loop to do things a certain number of times. Now, the final thing, the final way that you can control things in Python is using while. Now, for will do things a certain number of times until the number of times that you've specified is exhausted. So, for example, it'll keep on going. It'll keep on going until you get to 3, or it'll keep on going till all of the things in your list are gone. Whereas while will keep on doing things forever. So why don't we say here, while true, and then let's say, let's just print hacked. There we go. So while true, print hacked. Now, obviously, this is just going to go and go and go, because this is never not going to be true. This is always, always, always 100% of the time going to be true. So let's just Control C to stop this while loop right here. And then let's experiment with this a little bit. So why don't we now say while false, print hacked? What do you think is going to happen now? Well, while false, basically nothing happens, because while loops, same as if statements, are only triggered if this is true. And so let's put something else in there that is, let's put something else in there that's true. So while let's have while 1 plus 1 is 2, print hack. So obviously that's just going to keep on going, because this evaluates down to true, and as long as this is true, then it's going to do stuff. So let's now try something else. Why don't we say while, and then let's have is raining. Is raining. There we go. Now we've assigned is raining up here as false. Okay, so we've assigned false to is raining. So obviously that's going to be false now. So we don't get any loop happening. The while loop isn't triggered and doesn't run. And so what happens up here now if we change is raining to true? Well, that while loop is now just forever going to carry on. So what's the point of a loop that carries on forever? Well, maybe you might want to check if a certain condition's true. So, for example, I know this isn't where you're meant to do this, but why don't we import? So let's say from random, not from random, but from random. So funny. From random, import randin. All right, and then why don't we say if randint 0 to 10 is let's have 5 as our kind of random number here. Then we're going to say is raining is going to be true. We've already assigned it as false up there, haven't we? No, we want to change it to false. Okay, so rather than hacked, let's say time to be outside. There we go. So quick recap then. So while is raining, okay, now at the moment is raining is true, okay, actually, we don't want to print time to be outside. Let's print something else, because if it's raining, why don't we print singing in the rain? Let's have singing in the rain, because is raining is true at the moment. So singing in the rain. If rounding 0 to 5, if rounding 0 to 10 is 5, then we're going to change is raining to false. And then we're going to print time to go outside. And then the loop will automatically stop as well, because as soon as is raining becomes false, then the loop will stop. So let's see how many times it goes through. There we go. And so basically we got through this loop 5 times until 5 was randomly selected as our integer, and then the loop stopped and it was time to go outside. So let's do it once more. Oopsie daisy. Go. 4 times that time. Not 5 times again. There we go. A few more times that time. It's completely random. And so that's a pretty good demonstration of while loops. So you've got if statements for if you want to do something once, if a condition's met. For loops will do things a certain number of times, as many times as you want, or as many times as there are things in a list. And then while loops will do something as long as something's true. So you use this to do something once, to make a decision once. You do this if you want to do something a certain number of times. And you do this if you want to repeatedly make a decision about something. So basically, it's kind of an endless if statement. It just does stuff forever until the condition is or isn't met, depending on how you want to do it. So that's